kia ora koutou to you all. Really grateful to be here. I suppose in terms of what I'd say as an addendum to what I wrote already, I find that when I was growing up, I'm from Te Ao Ngāti Raukawa, that's where I whakapapa back to in terms of my Māori aspect. And all of those who I learnt, mostly in the Tainui region, very much was about moving forward, standing up on your own 2 feet, getting ready, taking what comes, building resilience, and just letting loose, and just gaining more and more by your own effort, by your own manners. And I suppose I had quite a marked response on my formative years as I grew up. That's exactly how I sort of took life. I didn't sort of take any sort of victim blaming or anything like that. Just took the hits and kept going, acknowledging any sort of dramas in my own past. And that went into also when I was studying up on things like Te Tiriti Waitangi, South Africa, all of the other dimensions where there have been contentious issues around race. And when I look at it, what I think that bills like this, co-governance structures overall, have an underpinning of well-intentioned, but are incredibly divisive and arguably very racist. If not an intent, then definitely an outcome. And I think that even though it's well-meaning by trying to create some type of perceived equity, what it does do is it just absolutely divides people down the middle, and it does reformat democracy into something that's not actually democracy. And I note that Mr. Coffey mentioned in one of his speeches that it was tweaking of democracy. It's not a tweaking. It really is I would say a mangling of it, a very much reformed. And I don't think that's actually a very good thing. I think that we should all have one vote, one nation. I love my various bloodlines. I am Niue, I'm Māori, I am English, and I'm Tongan. I love every single one of my links, but that doesn't give me the right to have a special dispensation of power. I do not deserve a segregation of power. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. And I think that's what the treaty is about that contractual idea, especially the Article 3 section where we are all to be under the same code of laws, to somehow make it that we are, that if I'm Māori, then my kids will be considered higher for medical appointment over some white person's kids, or if I've whānau ora, which was good intention at the start, but now has become a bit more race-based. I don't want any of that. I want all people to be treated equally, and it includes one person, one vote. And I really disagree with that. I also disagree strongly with the way in which this was conducted. I have absolutely nothing against anyone personally, but I find the idea of a usual, 4 to 6 months for a select committee type of engagement with the people of New Zealand, turning that into 2 weeks. And now, of course, thankfully, for a little while, an extension. But I think breaking it down to 2 weeks is just shocking. It's quite appalling, especially when you consider that we're supposed to represent New Zealanders, that the one part where the people of New Zealand are able to have a say, and that is the part which gets stripped down to its very core. And during a time where people are worrying about jobs, worrying about family, as well as trying to at least get us a bit of holiday time and during Easter and be able to get around to the country and engage in looking after into their own people. I think it's quite appalling. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean that as a earnest, painful heart in terms of looking at our country, our nation, and what it's going through. But I think that this is very incredibly divisive, and in a sense, it is racism, not in intent, but it will be in outcome. But thank you for letting me speak.
Kia ora, Elliot. Thank you for that contribution. Members, any questions for Elliot? Anahila kanunga ta'a sui sui ki.
Kia ora, Elliot. Malo lelei, whalawhalai atu. Yeah, and hello. Yeah, I'm just keen. Do you have any links to Rotorua at all?
No. I've done a few trainings there in cultural competency, and I've been to some of the marae there as part of that, but no blood links to it, no.
Okay, it's just that we've just heard from Te Ururoa Flavel, and he supports what we're doing, what the bill is actually, the intent of the bill, and that he's quite from his talanoa, he's quite proud of being from Rotorua, being above everyone else, which for me it says that this is world leading or Aotearoa leading. So yeah, what do you have to say in terms of their local Māori supporting this bill?
Well, I actually agree that people should fight for what they believe in, absolutely. And Matua Tuirora, him doing that, all credit to him. Good. I think he should fight for things like that. And I think that all people should be fighting for what they want. I'm not agreeing, but I see Teano there. I don't agree at all with many green things, but I agree that he should fight for the things that Greens fight for. Absolutely. However, when you're coming again to the idea that one race will have segregational power over others, that is wrong. I also noticed that he mentioned as well, for example, the, sort of putting the Westminster aspect of male over 21 had to own land, and that was knowingly against Māori. That's inaccurate. That was not against Māori. That was simply the way in which they did it in Britain at the time, and they just brought it over. Bad? Yeah, very bad. And I'm glad that they changed it, but it was never about aiming that at Māori at all. It was simply the operational dictate that they had at the time for Britain, so they brought it over. Even the Māori seats themselves were never supposed to be forever. They were supposed to be until that disability, that democratic disability was able to be gotten rid of. And once that was gotten rid of, then they could all engage, everyone could all engage together in that rough and tumble idea of democracy.
Right,
thank you. Final question, Teano Tuiono.
Malo Elliot.
Malo.
I was wondering if you had any reflections, because one of the things that keeps coming up over the morning is about the locals trying to sort things out, and there's been a lot of reference to the Fenton Agreement in 1880, and if you had any reflections on that, because Te Aroha isn't a race, they're an iwi and they've been involved in this, and you've got the city council, and for me, it feels like they're just trying to sort things out and do the best that they can do, particularly referencing that agreement in 1880. So if you had any reflections on locals just trying to do the things that they need to do in order to get the best representation and the best democracy that they have, given the legislative processes that we have.
No, fair, a great question, actually. I think the Fenton question itself is a massive kōrero on its own. In terms of what it is overall, however, because it's come into a national government or national political scenario, you are still looking at the idea of it being race-based, as in when we talk about iwi hapu, then we are actually talking about Māori. And that's why when you got co-governance, you've got ones like the Tupuna Maunga Authority. Again, like I mentioned, that DHB memo that basically if you're brown, you'll be treated better under the health system. Those are race-based policies and laws that are being changed. So when Finlayson brought in that one, I think it was the Ngāti Whātua bill, where the Tupuna Maunga Authority was, that was only specifically for Ngāti Whātua. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what that effectively does is it makes Māori as in a separate category and gives Māori as separate rights and powerful. And you can even look under He Puapua for that idea. So while I note that some of the argument can be said, well, it's actually only for this iwi and then this iwi, but that's not accurate in the overall what makes it a problematic area. Iwi come under Māori in terms of our political powers and our accessions. I'm Te Āteo Ngāti Raukawa, but I will still benefit from any type of co-governance scheme because it is co-governance with Māori. That's why I say it's race-based, not just iwi-based.
Well, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Elliot. Appreciate your contribution to our Māori Affairs Select Committee in this particular bill. Have a wonderful weekend. Go well.
Ngā mihi.
Ngā mihi.